Hi, I'm Jonah, and this is a native flute instructional tutorial for Auld Lang Syne. And when we talked about doing this song, I was confused. I'd never heard of it before. Everybody seemed to know what it was. And it turns out it's the song that most of us sang during when bringing in the new year. And it's the all the acquaintance be, so that classic song that often is sung at New Year's. And it's a song that was written in the late 1700s. It was actually a poem, a Scots poem, and then set to music. And it's a song about remembering old friendships. So it's very apt for bringing in a new year, a new space, a new time period in our lives, while bringing with us those old friendships and remembering those friendships. And so I hope in this new year you're able to share this with your friends and family and bring those friendships into the new year as well. Now, the easiest way that I find to learn songs is to walk through them phrase by phrase. And a phrase is like the sentences that build the song. Essentially, each time you pause to take a breath, you've completed a phrase. In the sheet music, I note the phrases by using these numbers with slashes through them. Phrase 1, 2, 3, and so on. A particularly nice thing about learning a song that most of us know is we have an idea of what it's supposed to sound like. So that's going to be really helpful in learning this song. The main challenge of this song is that there are two notes that many of you will have not played before. This one here and this one here. When you get to the places where those notes are used, have patience with yourself. It might take a bit to get the transitions from one note to the next. As I walk through each phrase, I'll note anything that's unusual or particularly challenging in that phrase, and then I'll show you how to play it, and I'll play it at a really slow tempo. At that point, I'd suggest pausing the video and working on that phrase until you have the fingerings and the rhythm pretty well down at that slow tempo, and then move on to the next. Once we've moved through the whole song, I'd suggest going back to the beginning and working through each phrase again. And slowly, each time you do that, bringing it up to tempo. And now I'll walk you through all the phrases. This is the first phrase of Auld Lang Syne, and this note here may be new to a lot of you. Working up to it, it's not as challenging as some of the other cross fingerings, mostly because you don't have to cross finger. You're just opening holes upwards. Instead of keeping this third hole from the top closed, you're opening it. In the second phrase, we again have this new note for a lot of you, and again here, and then we go to this note here. We jump up, so this is a cross finger, and this is a high note, so this will be above the octave, which a lot of you may not have used before. When jumping to notes that are over the octave, like this one, you may need to use a tonguing style that's called staccato. And what that is it's a really strong or forceful tonguing, and that will pop the flute up over the octave. And it's something like a ta, ta. And it's a real strong tonguing versus a legato, which is really soft. Ta, 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 ta. So you'll want to use that strong staccato tonguing to get the flute to pop over the octave. In the third phrase, we start off on this note here, which is a new note for a lot of you, but you're coming off the same note in the second phrase, so that makes it an easy transition. And then you're jumping back down, which is a cross fingering here, and then again to this note, which is likely a new note for a lot of you. And then we move through this up and down sequence to the end of the phrase. In the fourth phrase, we have this new note here. And then you walk down and back up with the rhythm to the end of the phrase. And then in the fifth phrase, you're coming off of a rest. So you have a second to change your fingerings up to this high note again. Now this combination of notes here, this rhythm there's slurs here. So you have this note slurring down, and then you tongue that note, and then you slur down again. Remember, slurring is when you do not tongue when changing notes. So if you're not used to slurring and tonguing, this will be a good start for learning how to do that together and adding new rhythms to your songs. And in the sixth phrase, it's again the same rhythm where you have these two slurs one after the other, but instead of just continuing down, you're slurring down, tonguing that note, and then slurring back up. And you have these notes that are the new notes for a lot of you, this high note again, this third finger from the top open note here, and again this high note. And in the seventh phrase, we have this high note again, and you're coming off of it from the sixth phrase. And then you're jumping down, and this jump is pretty common in this song. And then another cross fingering, and then we move through this up and down sequence to the end of the phrase. And then we move into the eighth phrase, which is the last phrase, and we're starting on this note here that's new to a lot of you, and then moving our way down to finish the song.